Hey everybody, welcome to the Sassy Girl Entrepreneur Show. Today I have a very special guest. She's actually a repeat guest, and I am stoked that she said yes to coming back. I've got Emily Petroff with us. Emily is a transformational leader focused on empowerment, inspiration, motivation, and challenging the traditional leadership hypothesis as well as societal conditioning. And when we talk about societal conditioning, you've got to stay tuned to hear what the hell she's doing now. When we say challenging, we mean challenging. So I can't wait to share. I'm like just super, super stoked. She focuses on relationships, trust, and honestly, like vulnerability and authenticity is the biggest focus right now that you are really talking about, but more so displaying to the world. So there's so much we can talk about. I mean, you are like the shit. So Emily, thank you so much for coming back onto the show. I love having you.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. I mean, I don't think there is a guest that I've seen on your show that wouldn't absolutely say yes if you invited them to come back. Like, when Deanna says you want to be in, you go, absolutely, let's do this, right? So thank you for having me back here. I adore you and all the things that you're doing in this world to make a difference. And so if I can be a tiny little drop or part of that, I am absolutely in.
Oh, thank you. You are too kind, girl. But that's why I have you on, because you like build me up. No, I'm kidding. I love you too. I do. I absolutely love you. And I appreciate you. And I love the friendship that we've built over the past couple years. I don't know how long it's been, but
it doesn't even seem like that. But at the same time, I'm like, it's been a minute, right?
Yeah,
like,
it has been. It has been. Yeah. So I just can't wait anymore. I've got to talk about what you are doing right now. So picture this. I'm scrolling through Facebook, just, whatever, not really paying attention to anything. And all of a sudden, I see you pretty much naked come across my screen. And it was the stop scroll moment going, wait, what? Did she accidentally post this? Like, was she sending pictures to someone and like it accidentally posted to Facebook? Because I know someone who did that.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But no, it was totally intentional. And you have started a movement, Naked and Unafraid. Talk to me about this movement.
I just got goosebumps. Thank you. Yeah. So the movement is really about vulnerability and authenticity and showing up in a way that for me, I never have. And not only for the world to see, but for myself to see. Right? Like it started, so the movement was actually, gosh, maybe 90 days ago or so. That
it's fairly new.
Yeah. But it really, it started because I had this vision and this sort of download, so to speak, that it was time to stop hiding everything, right? It was time to really come out in a way that got people's attention.
Oh, you got attention. You got that attention. And I love it. I do. I really do.
Yeah. So, the nakedness really was the whole purpose has really nothing to do with nakedness outside of that. I'm really passionate about I've worked through a lot of my own body image stuff that I have, because I don't have a body that society is like, and that's where the societal conditioning comes in. I don't have a body that society goes, ooh, this is what should be on billboards. Ooh, this is what should be in a magazine. Ooh, and I'm tired of that noise, right? I don't want anyone, women, men, right? I want it to be that we can neutralize what beauty is, and that it doesn't have to be a specific set of criteria that defines beauty, and the messages that are sent to us internally and externally as a result of that conditioning. And and even when I was thin, like at my thinnest, I still didn't feel good about myself, right? Because I still didn't look the part, still didn't, right? I was always comparing to what the hell ever, for so long. And so that's where the nakedness part comes in. But the rest of it is really just about like being vulnerable in our life, right? Being willing to show up. And you and I talked a lot about this before any of, like, years ago when we did the podcast, right? Like how important it is to say that, like, not every day, not every month, not every year is a record-breaking, like, rock star moment. And sometimes we learn the most from those things. And when we all tell the truth about our experiences, other people go, oh God, I can be human. Oh God, I can be myself. Oh, I don't have to judge myself. I don't have to think that I'm failing because I didn't hit 6 figures this month or this year, or because I did, like all those things that come up for us. And so this was a way to really, I've been coaching and practicing teaching people vulnerability and authenticity for a while, but this was sort of like, it's kind of like, I tell people, it's a little bit like when Tony Robbins, if you've ever watched him, he uses the F-bomb a lot, right? He drops it a lot. And when you watch some of his behind the scenes things, he says, I do it very specifically. It's very intentional. It's to wake people up. It's to get their attention. That's kind of what the nakedness is about. It's like it served its purpose. You were like, wait, what? What's
totally
happening?
Right.
Yeah,
I absolutely was. I'm like, yes, it absolutely got my attention, and I love that you're doing it because you talked a little bit about self-esteem, and even when you were thin, and you still didn't feel beautiful, and you didn't say that word beautiful, but I'm putting my own personal feelings on that. And I the other day I'm thinking, and I'm like, gosh, I remember when I did look my best, and I still ripped everything apart that I saw in the mirror and saw every single flaw. And I'm 10 years older than you, but I think we both dealt with the same thing as far as media, TV shows, magazines. My heart goes out to this new generation that's dealing with social media and those comparisons, because I think that is going to be even a bigger impact for them as far as, that confidence level. I think it's really going to be hard to overcome that,
I do think, though, I agree with you. And I also think that there's so much like information on vulnerability. There's like Brene Brown does a great job of sharing, her research and her, she has lots of books. And so there are thought leaders out there who are, I don't want to say combating, but maybe in some ways they're combating, some of the things that are out there. I mean, you can go on, this is one of the things that I tell a lot of my clients, if they're struggling with body image issues, you can go on Instagram is a great platform to go and search the hashtag body confidence or body positive, and you can find images of people who look just like you or who maybe are similar in shape or size. And it almost gives you permission to be, right? Like, oh, if they're out there being themselves in that body that they have right now, why the hell shouldn't I be being myself? Rather than being inundated with all the programs and the plans and the judgments of what you shouldn't be, right? So I think that we're doing a good job of trying to educate so that there are more choices, right? Like, this feels bad because there's lots of judgment associated to it, and I feel bad when I talk to myself about it. This feels liberating and this feels light, and I want to follow that energy,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So what inspired all of this? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, boy, the timing couldn't have been better coming out of COVID, right? Because everybody's talking about COVID weight, and you've seen like the hot girl summer memes, right? And they're like, let me tell you about hot girl summer right after COVID. And I'm like, boy, this timing was impeccable. And I don't know if it had anything to do with the time you had in, isolation and COVID, or if what said, now is it. Now is the time that I'm ready to speak out about this.
Yeah. So it didn't really have anything to do with COVID at all. It kind of just was a good dovetail,
It
organic
really was.
dovetail. A couple of, last fall, I had a couple of really good friends and clients who were really struggling with body image, and not just body image, but also being real and raw and authentic. And we were having conversations independently, like, gal, I'm just not, I love my tribe of peeps because I can be me 100%. But then when I go, into this space, I kind of water myself down a little bit, or
Yes.
I'm, that kind of thing. And you and I have talked about that too.
Yes, we have. Yes.
And so I brought all of them together in this little private Facebook group, and I just got this crazy idea one night. It was like a Saturday night that I was going to stand in front of the mirror and take a naked selfie covering, parts.
Yep.
And post it for them, and just be brave, right? And there was probably only about 15 women or so in that initial group. But what happened from that, I could have never even planned or imagined. It was truly transformational. They all went, oh, holy shit. Okay. And they started taking pictures of themselves and posting it in the group. And then they started loving on each other, and they started to go oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Honestly, that's amazing.
And so I thought, why can I not do this in a public space? Why can I not? Why should I not? Why should I not? And then it was a couple of months, and then it kind of I didn't really know what to do with it at the time. It was cool, and it they still talk about it to this day. And then it kind of fizzled out a little bit. I didn't really pick it up from there. And so that group just kind of, we were still in there on occasion, but it wasn't really anything else. And then I literally was in a meditation one day. I had just finished a big contract, and I was ready for the next thing. And I was in a meditation. I said, show me, tell me what to do, and I'll follow the instructions no matter what it is. And within 2 hours, I got this major download that this is what I was supposed to do. It was on a Monday. I'll have to look at the date again because I can't remember exactly. It was I think it was in April, a Monday in April. And by that afternoon, so it was probably at 8 o'clock that I did the meditation. So by 10 or 10:30, I had gotten you're supposed to take that picture, or you're going to do something with that group, right? That you did. And I was oh God, I'm going to be naked on the internet. Oh God, what the hell? And by that afternoon, I had called my children. I had called my mom. I had called, all the people that were close to me that I knew might be a bit uncomfortable with this, and just said hey, here's what I'm going to do. I don't have all the details yet, but this is big, and I'm going to follow the energy around it. And if it makes you uncomfortable, you're not going to offend me if you don't want to follow me. You don't want to friend me. You're going to go away from my space, and that's okay. And I'm doing this, right? It wasn't about permission and or validation. It was just to respect at them, and kind of I didn't necessarily want them to have the experience of being shocked by that, right?
So I could see my boys seeing. I would immediately get a text message going, "What are you doing, Mom? Yeah. Stop! Just stop!" I can hear it. Yeah. Girls might be differently, but my boys would be like, what?
Yeah. And it was really cool. It was very different than what I had expected. My kids all were my oldest son was I think it's a pretty cool way to teach people that. And I was
that's really awesome. And that's a tribute to you of how you raise them to be so open, that's awesome.
And then my middle son and his girlfriend, they were in my living room when I told them. And he was you mean you're going to be naked, in the living room? I mean, sort of, but not when you're it won't be weird like that, right? And so he was okay, whatever. And then my youngest son was just like, huh, okay. You know, it was really cool to see that they were just like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know, and maybe they have different conversations with their dad. Maybe they are, you know, just being kind to my, you know, and it's fine. It doesn't matter to me. Right. And then my mom, you know, it was interesting because my mom definitely way less comfortable with it and was just, well, you've always done great things with everything else, so I'm sure this will be one of those things. So, you know, so I mean, it happened really, really fast, and you know, by the end of that week, I had already had 2 guests to interview on the podcast that I'm getting started, and you know, and just kind of things just have really blown up, crazy.
I love it. That is awesome. Next thing, on your 40th birthday, you made this decision to get pictures taken of you naked all over Montana. Pretty much. Like, did you think of this before? Did the movement inspire that? Like, I mean, first off, what a cool birthday gift, right? You're like, I'm owning myself. I'm 40. You know, and those 10 digits, like those 10-year different, those, like, you do change. You grow and learn and morph into somebody totally new that just does not give a shit about the stuff you cared about, you know, at 39, at 49.
Yeah.
But talk to me about these pictures. I mean, and then you posted them all over the place, which was like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, I show them to my husband and I'm going, I wish I had the nerve to do something like this, you know? And I go, maybe I'm going to do it for my, you know, 51st and post them on the internet. He's like, no, you're not.
That's the other thing. I feel like I have limited my pool of potential partners because not everybody is going to be okay with like, yeah, my person is naked on the internet. Not okay with that, right?
Yeah, but you have a positive message. It's a little bit different. Like, your message is there. But yeah, talk to me about it.
I knew that I needed visuals because the way that our brain and the messaging that we get comes visually a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and the comparisons and all of that. And if I was going to make a splash with the movement and really wake people up, I had to do something that I felt was pretty bold and pretty like, what in the actual hell do it, right? So I mean, it was, and you know, I am a fan of the shock factor. Like that's just kind of part of my personality a little bit. Even when I teach class, I like to tell stories that make people like, what? I have a plethora of experiences in my life that are part of that go along with, you know, that kind of reaction. So it kind of fits my personality anyway, right? But you know, the woman that did the photographs, her name is Miranda, and Miranda Murdoch, and she is amazing. She has done all of my professional photo shoots prior to this, right? Headshots, just anything else, and she's always been so amazing. So when I messaged her, it was kind of the same thing with like calling my family. So, hey, here's this idea that I have no idea how you're going to feel about it, but I love you. I feel comfortable with you. And what do you think? Right? She was like, girl, I do boudoir. I was like, what? You do? I didn't even know. She was
You're
like,
kidding.
Yeah, I am in. And so it was no issue whatsoever. And it was actually her idea to go outdoors.
I loved it.
Yeah, she was the one who said, what if we go to Red Lodge in the mountains? And I was like, holy shit, I never thought of that before. But the vision that I had for doing the shoot was I didn't want it to be sexy, which was also the part for me about like boudoir is really very sexy often. And that's just not what it was about. I don't want people looking at those photos getting that vibe. Now, I can't control what vibe people get from them sometimes, but my intention behind them was that they're fun, that they're exciting, that it's like this crazy, like I think in the pictures, and you can maybe, attest to this, you can feel my like, holy shit, I'm really doing this kind of energy sometimes, right? Like, and so,
yep, definitely.
So it was cool. And the other cool thing is that a lot of the, being out there, we went to Red Lodge and then passed kind of up the Beartooth Highway a little ways. And it was cold that day. So here's the other thing that was cool that happened. I never intended on doing it on my birthday. Like I didn't have that vision. It's the weather in Montana. So we originally were supposed to do it on this day. And then the weather was like, nope, not going to happen. So we had to reschedule. And then the next day that we rescheduled for, she had some other conflict because of weather for some other event that she was doing. So we had to reschedule again. And then it just happened that it was on my birthday that we could reschedule.
Wow.
So it was one of the single most best things that I could have ever done for myself and for the movement, right? It is inspiring people to accept themselves the way that they are and the way that they're not. And it's making, it's making some waves out there in the world. So it was really fun. And actually, I just got all of the pictures back from her just this past Friday. So I have more to share now because the whole thing, there was some that I didn't have. So now I have all of them, and I'm excited to be able to unveil a few more. So yeah.
So question, how cold was that water?
I bet it was 20 something degrees. I mean, like
I was like, that has to be freezing right now. And you almost can see like your face. You're like, oh, what? Like you were on a ride. You're like.
So I hiked right before that. I hiked up this thing and climbed on this like rock, and and I was a little bit like sweaty and it was decent. It was probably 40 degrees out that day, 45 maybe. So it was a little chilly, right? And I hiked up, so I was a little bit sweaty from hiking up this thing to get this one shot. And then directly after that, went to the water. So if I can say this, and if not, cut it out. But my vajayjay was like, what in the act? I mean, it was freezing. And I was in there for a minute because the photographer was way down the way a little ways, getting a few different angles. And my sister was on the other side of me trying to get a few angles from there. So it was like, oh my God. So yeah, it was a few minutes of being in there. And it was, if anyone knows Rock Creek in Montana, when the snow is melting, that's what it was. It was just putting my rear end right in that.
So what did that day do for you? What did that experience of getting those photos taken? What did it do?
It was so empowering. And I think it's similar to what I hear women talk about when they've done a boudoir. Like, oh my God, I see myself in a way that but I think the difference is that with boudoir, a lot of times my experience in viewing it and or talking to some photographers is that they still are working on angles and they're making it appear. And it was really important to me that we didn't do it like that, right? It was really important to me that we showed all of the things that I've got going on, all of my stretch marks and all of the rimples, the bumps and the, just like all the realness, right? Like, and it was a way of honoring my body. Like, this is true. This is what's truth for me, not some photoshopped version of what's true, right? Like, this is really true. And I would say so for me, that's what it was. I will say though that even after I saw the pictures, I was like, I can't post that. I can't post that. I can't post that. And I had to walk away from them a couple of times. And when I came back the second and the third time, I was like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And then I did. And it was another way of me loving myself. It was another way of accepting myself. It was another way of showing people out there that it's okay to be the way that you are, and that you don't have to judge it. You don't have to, and that sometimes when you stand in it, well, maybe not sometimes, I feel like it's all the time, when we stand in our truth and we really be who we are, that's when the people go, I love you. Like, oh my God, yes, yes, yes. And the ones who it doesn't align with go away. But as long as we stay in this space of like, I always say it's like kind of watered down. The ones who don't like us are sort of like not sure if they do or don't. And then the ones who would love us don't know that they love us because they never got to see all of that stuff, So it was really probably the big, like, I loved what it did for me personally, but in terms of the movement and that bigger impact, posting them online for people to see and just being okay with any judgment, any, right, whatever was going to come from it was like the bigger gift.
I will tell you on a personal level, you have totally inspired me. My weight has been an issue for as long as I can remember. I can't think of a time. Okay, well, after my divorce, right? The divorce diet did amazing things for my body, and I was super skinny, right? But mentally, I couldn't enjoy it. I wasn't mentally in a place to enjoy it. But for my whole life, my weight's been my issue, and it's been hard to actually even go live because of it. Like, I'm glad this is all you see because I'm okay with this. But like doing TikTok and Reels and all the things that I preach about, I have to do. Now you're seeing everything, and I'm getting branding shoots. And I just had a branding shoot. And when I went back to Ohio just recently, and I look through those pictures, and I hate them. Not all of them, right? But it's not because the photographer, my photographer is my niece, so I totally love her. I think she's a great photographer, and it's easy to get personal with her, right? But I'm looking again at every single flaw. So you might get a portfolio of 50, 100, whatever pictures, 200 pictures, and I might pick 5 that are Facebook, Instagram worthy. Yeah. And there's one that Jason actually loves, is of both of us, and it's us from the back, and he's just joking with me. She caught it. It was a total candid shot. I love it because we're cracking up, and it's us, but it's from the back side. So I hate it, right? But I thought of you, and I think of your movement, and I'm like, this is who I am, and I do need to embrace that. And I love that you're doing that for women, saying, okay, listen, like, you're going to find those flaws. We have those flaws. We all have those flaws. And I'm sure supermodels, right, and the ones on the covers, they're looking and seeing their flaws, and we're like, are you crazy? But so I can tell you from a personal level is that you've inspired me. And it's like, no, just keep doing, just keep putting it out there and be who you are. But it's hard. Yeah. It's hard because you're afraid of being judged. And what I hear, at least, right, are my critics commenting on those pictures. I don't hear the fans in my head. I hear the critics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, you're right. It is challenging, right? It is. We're trained to look for all the wrongness.
Yeah.
We're just, it's so part of our makeup in our culture, in our world. It's about what is wrong with me.
Yes.
Rather than seeing all the what is right with me and having no point of view about what size it has to be. Because if the truth is when I ask my body, right, and our bodies have their own level of consciousness, and so if I ask my body, right, she doesn't have any judgment about the way, right? I'm the one that my mind is the thing, right, that's doing that. So
Yep, you're right. You're right. So you started this Facebook group with just a handful of people you knew, liked, and trusted. And you started it maybe 90 days ago, and you have over 2,600 members. How did you grow it that quickly? What happened?
So it was public, right? I did it as I let it be public. And I did because I don't want to hide and I want to reach as many people as I possibly can with this message, right? With the message of like, be vulnerable in your relationship with your significant other. Be vulnerable in your business with your team and with your customers. Be vulnerable. I'm getting goosebumps again. Be vulnerable with yourself and your body. Be vulnerable, right? Like I want that message to be the message that is normal, right? That is
Yeah.
the common thread, and we have a lot of work to do. So having it be a private group where no one could see that and it was only invitation only didn't feel like it resonated for me at that time, and yeah, so that's, it just has, I've encouraged people to bring and to invite their people who they think would get value from, the things that are being shared. And the super cool thing about the content there is that the people who get it are also then sharing. So it's not just me sharing content. There are other people sharing content, and it's stuff that they pick up along the way, that they see in their news feed on all different platforms. It's their own personal stories and messages from their family, what was acceptable and not acceptable. And then as soon as they share that, someone else goes, oh, I had that experience too. Oh my God, I've done that, And so then it's like this thing. And then they're like, oh, you got to come and check this out. Oh, you got to come and check this out. Oh, and by the way, it's entertaining as hell because there's some crazy people in here, right? Doing some crazy shit.
There really is some people who really live life to the fullest. And I don't remember who, but there was a guy who was kayaking naked who's part of your group. Okay. Yeah. And I was like, you go. Like, I can't even imagine, like, wow. I mean, I am struggling to find the words, right?
Yeah.
But he's posting a picture. I mean, discreetly, but still, you clearly know that, he's kayaking naked and sharing that.
And that's interesting too, because, and I tell people this all the time, when I started the group and the movement, nothing about it did I have a vision for like nudity. And that sounds strange, but if you go watch the intro video, it really is just like, I intended for it to be virtual mostly, and that it would just be like we were practicing vulnerability and maybe people were sharing, some photos and stuff, but I never really had a vision for like that it would attract colonies or who had lived on in a nudist places or been to nudist beach, or like I didn't have that thing, like that idea, that vision. And so this is, I don't know if you saw, did you see World Naked Hiking Day?
I did. And you and your friend went hiking naked.
So this is not my idea.
I didn't even know that was a thing. You are frozen.
How about now? Are we good?
Oh, I can hear you. Yep, you're back.
One of the guys in the group says, hey, what did you know that July 21st or June 21st is World Naked Hiking Day? We should totally put this together. And I kind of thought it was a joke, right? And then all of a sudden it started like picking up speed. And there was more people and more people and more people in my local community. And I was like, ha ha ha, okay, yeah, okay. So I was kind of just monitoring the things, right? And then it was like all of a sudden they were like, we want to do this. Are you in? And I was just like, holy shit. Right now I've done two naked yoga events prior to that, right? Which were wonderful, but it was women only. And I just was like, holy, am I ready for this? Like, I mean, and so I felt like I had to be there because it was my movement and it was inspired by that. And I'm willing to challenge myself, right? So I was like, okay, I'll go, I'm in, right? And I made jokes about that I was going to fill my big water jug up with, you know, some kind of alcohol or something. And, you know, oh God. And then what ended up happening is that none of those people came. Like, we made the meetup spot, we did all the things, and no one showed up except for that other gal. And, you know, it was really cool to see what it did for her, you know, the space that was created just from, you know, having the experience, and how the universe supported us, because I'm not an exhibitionist, you guys. Like, I'm not just doing this like to do it, right? All of my photo shoots have been, yes, they've been outside, and yes, they've been in public-ish spaces, but I'm not trying to make anybody uncomfortable, right? I'm trying to inspire people, and from my own being, not be in this place. And the place that we went, people showed up right away. Like, and I had
people not part of the group?
Right. And I had no idea, but I thought they were at first, because I don't know all the people that are in the group, and not everybody says they're, you know, sometimes people just come to an event. So these people pull up next to me in my car, and they kind of are looking around. And so I feel like, okay, they're looking for me. They're here to do this. Holy shit. Okay. So I roll my window down. They roll their window down, and they're like, does that gate shut after, you know, 9 o'clock? And I was like, I don't think so. Like, we're in a, you know, like, so they were like, okay. So then they get out and just start going to hike. And I was like, oh my God, I almost just asked them if they were there for World Naked Hiking Day. Like, thank you. How awkward would that have been? And then they would have been like, are you going to go naked? I mean, I don't know, right? So, oh my God. So they were out. And when I had got there originally, there was a mom and a bunch of her kids in a car, like in the parking area. And so I was just like, oh my gosh. But those people went, and then April, my cohort, came, and she's just started her journey to loving her body, you know, like, and she's really ripping the Band-Aid off every opportunity that she.
Oh my gosh, I got to give her a shout out, because if she is just starting and she went through with that on World Naked Hiking Day,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And it's, you know, absolutely. And, you know, so we did our little hike, and we brought robes. So we had a plan, right? We were going to be robed, so that then if we came across someone, we could cover up, and, you know, kind of the whole thing. But, you know, some of the things that I've heard from people who have attended naked yoga, and I will tell you, like, when naked yoga came up, I was really excited about that, because I felt like it was just it felt like an opportunity to heal, right? It felt like an opportunity to hold space for other people to accept their bodies in a way that maybe they never had before. And I've facilitated, in the last 10 years, I've facilitated and or participated in thousands of different types of events. And it's definitely on my top 1 to 2 things. And I will tell you, it's not a traditional, like, people get freaked out when you talk about yoga naked, because they're like, I don't want somebody looking at my butthole. Like, I don't want, you know, like, right. We do it in a circle, so everyone is, you know, facing each other, and it's yin yoga. So it's not the traditional, like, we're doing all kinds of, you know, we still do all, you know, things that are, you have to challenge your body a little bit, but it's not in that way. It's a very healing space. So it was definitely on what was talked about. I do a little debrief kind of after it's over, and we have a glass of wine or a cup of tea and talk about the experience together. And some of the things that those women shared in that group were things that I felt so blessed to be a part of what they got from that space. And so it has been such an adventure, right? Like, things that I could have never imagined. And now I'm looking at all kinds of different events, right? Like a sound bath, a naked sound bath. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at some other things just to see, you know, like, where are the limits, and what feels good, and what will help people to, you know, work on themselves. And it's not about nudity, really, right? It's about loving your body and accepting it the way that it is and the way that it isn't. And sometimes I think that because so much of that is about what other people think, the way to get around that is to be bold and to be in front of other people and be okay with whatever it is that they think, you know? So.
Oh, I love that. I love the way that this has just morphed into something bigger than you. Big, I mean, and you are just like riding the wave. You're not pushing back. You're not trying to make it, force it into being something different. You are just going along with it. And in the process, you're touching so many lives. And kudos to you for that, just for listening and following through. I think that's awesome. So you are on the Pacific Coast right now, right?
I am in Las Vegas. Yeah.
You're in Vegas. Nice. Yeah. And you are, first off, you are a life coach. Your certifications are in business coach, life coach, relationship, right? You cover everything. And then maybe a year ago, you got your master's in psychology. Has it been a year? And now you're there working on another certification.
Yeah.
And access bars, which I saw you share that, but I am not familiar with it. So what is that?
So Access Consciousness is an organization that is in over 200 countries around the world. And the purpose, their mantra is that all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And, it's about raising the vibration on our planet, right? It's about like raising the level of consciousness in the way that we operate our day-to-day lives, taking it to another level and creating, an opportunity not to have judgment, right? I mean, that is really the main thing is no judgment. And I found Access about 6-8 months ago, when I was working with another company. I had them as a contract. They had hired this facilitator to do some of our team facilitations. And I was just like, the energy and the things that this woman was saying was like, what? Wait, what? What is she saying? Like, I need some more of that. Like, what is this? And all of the women that I was working with had worked one-on-one with her. And I said, well, I'm going to do it too. And so I started working with her one-on-one. And her name is Dr. Adriana Popescu, and she's in California. And so I've been working with her for the last 6 months, and it has blown my, it has increased my capacity for consciousness more than I could have ever even thought. And I've done a lot of work on myself. And the tools that Access Consciousness brings to the world. So they're in over 200 countries, and there's over maybe 2,500 or 3,000 facilitators all across the world as well, sharing this message of consciousness and, just love. And so for me, it's love. That might not be the best. It feels that way, right? So gratitude and kindness and, that kind of thing. And so I just fell in love with it. I've gotten all their books on Audible, and, there's different authors that have done different things, and there's stuff on body, there's stuff on finance, there's stuff on, just about any stinking thing, relationships, just about anything that you can think of. There is some kind of audio book on that topic that is in alignment with Access principles or kind of, the mantra, and or was created by the founder and or co-creator. So I just fell in love with it. And when I interviewed, so I've done a couple of interviews on my podcast. The podcast is called the Naked and Brave podcast. And so I'm naked and I'm interviewing somebody else who's also naked. You can't see anything, so it's not a big deal. But I interviewed, the first person that I interviewed was somebody who was in Bulgaria, taking naked selfies of herself on her terrace, and she's been doing it for years. And so when I was telling this mentor, Dr. Popescu, about this, she was like, "Oh, you got to interview this woman for your podcast. She's doing what you're doing, right?" And I was like,
"Oh my gosh."
So here I connect with this woman, across the world, who has been inspiring people to love their bodies the way that it is, the way that they are, from her terrace, drinking coffee, naked. And
my goodness.
I interviewed her, and it was just like, oh, it was so yummy. And she gave so many cool tools. And Then from her, I interviewed my next guest was Alan Jones, and he's in London, and his whole platform is about bodies and how bodies love money. And so we can't not, we have to, right, what the relationship with body and money is, and how we need to, you know, honor that, and our bodies will help us make money. And so that was a super fun.
I need to listen to that. I saw that, but I didn't listen to that. So I need to go back and listen to your podcast.
He's so fun too. Like he also has been taking like his, there are a few that are naked, but for him, mostly it's him. Like, so when one of the things that he talks about is that he bought really expensive underwear for himself when he started to love his body, because he was buying cheap underwear, and his body was like, no, we want good underwear. And when he bought good underwear, he was like, holy, I mean, it changed everything for him. So there's some images of him in these crazy cool, like, underwear with these crazy shoes, and like, it's just, and then naked. The rest is, you know, he's just in underwear and shoes. And so they're just really great examples to us of like how we can be ourselves no matter what that is. And, you know, and it was like, here I am in little Montana trying to do my own over here. And so I very much look up to them and am inspired by them. I just wanted to do it, like, my jam is inspiration and motivation. So I wanted to do it like, and I love creating community, right? So like,
you're good at it.
That's where the group came from, you know. And so yeah, I feel like I went off on a little tangent there.
No, it's all good stuff. I'm glad you did.
Yeah. So one thing just sort of led to another.
Yes, and that's awesome. That's awesome. How long does that program take that you're in right now?
Oh, bars. That's what we were talking about. So I'm already a practitioner, so now I can run bars on people. But I'm working to get to be a facilitator, and I need one more class to be able to facilitate. So I will probably do that within the next 30 days. So then I'll be a certified access bars facilitator, and the bars are 32. There's 32 touch points on our head that, when activated, release all kinds of stored emotions and thoughts and things that keep us really stuck, right? So it's an energy, right? We all have our own kind of energy, and access helps, or is working. Those bars are working with your own energy, whereas something like, you know, Reiki, for example, is bringing energy from outside in. This is all just your own energy. It's working with your own energy, and there's different ways to do it and go about it. But it has been really cool. I did it on somebody last night, and afterwards he was like, what just happened? Like,
oh my gosh, that's,
you know, so it was really fun to see, and just to see the transformation. I said to him, like, I've never known you not to be able to talk. Like, we were talking about, you know, what kind of dinner we were going to get and what we were going to eat, and he was like, I can't even make a decision right now. Like, I've never seen you not be able to talk. Like, so it was cool. And he was super stressed from work, and he came home, and, you know, one of the things that a couple of the other facilitators say is that when their kids come home, they're teenagers and they're cranky, or their significant other comes home and they're cranky, they're like, let me run your bars. Or if she comes home cranky, they're like, let me run your bars. And it's just this, you know, it helps with all kinds of things.
I need to learn some of that.
Yeah. You are in a place where there are lots of
are there really?
Yeah, there are facilitators all over the country, all over the world, really. But in Montana, I just found one that I didn't know about. But, you know, we're remote. There's not a lot going on there. Whereas when I came to Vegas and when I was in Denver, you know, there are classes and things all the time. So so you could find someone for sure.
I'm gonna have to look.
Yeah.
So before we end, I have one question for you, just a fun question. Wow. So what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
There's absolutely no reason that I should be judging me, right? That what if all of the things that I thought were wrong with me for most or all of my life is actually the thing that's right about me, and that the world has been waiting for that this whole time.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's good. And I think that the world has been waiting for that this whole time. And I think your timing is perfect. And I am so excited to see where this movement goes. And I'm grateful that you had the courage to start it and keep it going, because it's exciting and we definitely need that. So, Emily, thank you so much for coming on again.
Thank you so much for having me, and for all that you are doing for entrepreneurs all over the place. And just the messages that you're sharing are so in alignment. So I'm super grateful to be able to be a part of that.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And I am going to share your podcast. It's in the notes. So if anybody wants to listen to her podcast, I encourage you. You can click on the link in the notes, or in the video notes as well. This is on YouTube and also on Apple Podcasts. So Emily, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.